Hello, everyone. Aloha. And where's John? Let's see.
Did you all? You guys should have all received your Uchinanchu, and it has great articles in this one by Lynn Miyahira, and
Oh boy.
a nice article, very detailed article about our virtual Okinawa festival. So please pick up if you haven't had the time to read it, and because there's great information, like how many viewers, right, Lynn?
Yes,
There were,
all the
I
stats
mean, look at,
we tried to put in there for our
I
virtual
mean, it's
Okinawa festival.
amazing. I mean, total viewers on that weekend was over 64,000, and I think we went well over 100,000, right? Total.
Yeah, since then, for sure. So yeah, it's a kind of a really neat way to share more news about our community. We've really tapped into this the live streaming slash YouTube uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, platform now. So thank you everyone for tuning in again for our weekly Yuntaku live show. We really appreciate everyone's support and your continued support of our HUA programs. I know 2020 is turning out to be a very interesting year. You know, we're really close to getting to our holiday season. So I think we all need to stay vigilant. Um, we
Tier
gotta be
two, tier two.
careful. Yeah, we gotta try to get closer to tier three, tier four. We do not want to regress back to tier one here in
Yeah.
Honolulu. So everyone stay safe. I know it's really hard during the holidays to not
Mm-hmm.
gather in big groups, but we gotta do our part so that we don't have another spike. So good to see everyone here again. Please comment where you're looking. Where we got. Let's see,
Oh,
Janine, of course,
Janine's.
in the house. Kanyo in the house.
Yeah, Kanyohi.
Kalihi in the house. We're also, I know, we're coming up on Uchinanchu no Hi too, so we have a lot of a worldwide audience that we're gonna be
That's
reaching
right.
to.
Don't forget, it's also
In
in the
your
Uchinanchu.
newspaper,
It talks about Purple Friday. It's coming
right?
up this Friday, 8 a.m. Don't forget, if you don't jump on there at 7:59, you're gonna miss some wonderful products because they're like a lot of one of a kind masks and whatnot. So get your internet ready or get your computer ready. 7:59, get on there, and then of course we go right into Thursday. Uchinanchu no Hi.
It's backwards, but Thursday first. Thursday, we have Uchinanchu no Hi on Thursday, the 29th, which is actually in Okinawa, Uchinanchu no Hi, or Sekai no Uchinanchu no Hi, is celebrated on October 30th in Okinawa. But because of the time difference, we've been celebrating it on the 29th here in Hawaii. So that we can kind of celebrate at the same time as Okinawa, so we're not a day behind. So this year, just like in past years, we are celebrating on a Thursday, October 29th, and we'll be doing a virtual program again like this. I know last year and the year before, we've had a lot of really fun. Oh, wow, look, we have people from Osaka, Japan tuning in. But we had a lot of really fun activities. We had a movie night one time. We had a big like potluck. We had a couple hundred people in our hall. But of course, this year we can't do that. So instead, we're doing a virtual event, and we're going to be highlighting a lot of the new footage, some stuff that we couldn't fit into the virtual Okinawan Festival last month. But we're really excited to highlight our clubs, some of the programs that we do, and all the different fun activities that make up the HUOA. So tune in.
Yeah,
Is
I was gonna
Thursday,
say
the 29th.
when
It's
you
Thursday.
tune in on the 29th, I know I was so excited about Purple Friday, but yeah,
Thursday. No,
I keep forgetting we're
Friday.
so proper here. We're so proper. We want to get the 29th so that it appears 2 p.m. in Okinawa on the 30th, but the Brazil celebrated their Uchinanchu no Hi this past Sunday
Yeah.
with like a 3.5 hour program.
Yeah.
And I think they were watching our virtual Okinawa festival because
Very much so.
they did an excellent job.
Yeah.
And they had an impressive program of
Yeah.
dance and shishimai and asa. And so great job, Brazil. Anyone watching from Brazil. But they did their Uchinanchu no Hi last Sunday, and we're going to do ours on 29th here in Hawaii, but on the 30th in Okinawa. So
Okay.
excited.
I'm very excited for that. So we wanted to kind of show everyone what can they expect. And so we have a little bit of a trailer that is queued up. Sorry, I don't know if I went out of order here, but we have a trailer and we want to show everyone what to expect on Thursday evening when we do our Uchinanchu no Hi celebration. So let's see. Do we have that ready?
我々うちなんちゅは持っている。我々うちなんちゅは未来を想像する力を持っている。我々うちなんちゅは未来への希望を持っている。
我々うちなんちゅはうちなんちゅであることに誇りを持っている。うちなんちゅであることを祝うではないか。うちなんちゅは一つになる。
誇りを持って宣言をします。今日は世界のうちなんちゅの日です。
Such epic music behind that. Did you see how happy you were in that one photo when you're in the parade and you're
Oh man,
shaka?
yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Uchinanchu no Hi started in 2016 at the last Sekai no Uchinanchu Taikai, and it was so it's kind of a new holiday, but yeah, it celebrates our worldwide Uchinanchu family, and we're just really excited to be a part of it, and we're gonna see this grow, I think, over the years. So lots of stuff coming up this week and next week too, which we're gonna get into later. But I did want to share we did send out a purple blast as well. We have a lot of information that you can share, forward to your friends, family, whoever, and that will have all of the information about the event we're going to be talking about tonight, which is we got Shari on there for tonight's Yuntaku Live, and then Okinawan Festival, which we're going to be getting into later on during this show. And then we also have a little bit of information if you keep going down, if you keep scrolling down, on our Uchinanchu no Hi. Yep, that's how you can basically do whatever you're doing to watch this. You can, and then Purple Friday, which is going to be on our Okinawa HUOA marketplace. So make sure that we're going to have new items from our crafters, new products, and you'll also be able to pre-order. If you saw in that Uchinanchu no Hi trailer, some nice products. That shirt, I kind of want it as a shirt. That's why. So it's gonna be on sale for pre-order. So you won't get it until later. But now is the time to get your Christmas shopping done. So that's what Purple Friday is. It's like not Black Friday, but Purple Friday.
Purple Friday, yes.
All right.
Yeah. Benny Emo Friday.
All right.
Well, we have a great guest today that's going to talk about a great week that's coming up next week.
So let's bring on Shari Tamashiro. She's a librarian from her, I would say, day job. She's a librarian, which for many people who don't know what the heck that is, we'll ask her later on. But she curates a lot of content and she does a lot of information. She's a gatherer of stories and information, is what I would say. She works at KCC, and she's been a real long-time volunteer with the HUOA and has put a lot of work into events such as, for those of you who went to the ASA Drum Festival and our Drums of Hope, she's a worldwide ASA ambassador. She's actually the first female and first foreigner to be a worldwide ASA ambassador. And so it's really, we'll ask her a little bit more about that too. But she's got roots in Itoman and Wahewa. Well, she's a member of the Wahewa Kyoyukai for fun, I think. But let's bring Shari Tamashiro on. Let's see, is she ready? Shari!
Hey. Look at that. You got delicious food sitting right behind you there.
Oh.
But Shari, before we start talking about all the restaurants and all the projects that you've been in, Yuntaku Live, we usually have some music. And I said, okay, Shari, today we have to have you do a little bit of a performance. So I think, Lynn and I are going to join you in this performance. We talked about Begin and their, the instruments that they sent to Hawaii in pigs, and they've sent over sanchin, they sent over ichigo ichie. But what we didn't talk about is they sent over nose flutes. So everyone, you're going to get to hear Shari Tamashiro in her premiere performance, worldwide premiere of Haisai Oji-san.
I also
Shari,
have Piggy ready to
okay, so come on, Shari, lead us in this.
No, I'm going to follow your lead because I just started this 10 minutes ago.
Okay, remember now.
World
We
premiere.
didn't
World premiere.
even practice this.
Yeah.
There we go.
Ready? Hey!
Spadio! All right, so we got that
premiere.
entertainment.
Premiere.
Yuntaku Live, we want to bring entertainment into your living room, so we have done that. And we introduced a new instrument. These are the nose whistles made famous by Begin, all the way from Okinawa, as part of their 550 instruments that they sent to HUOA. So
John,
glad to have you today. Oh, go ahead.
This is the oddest instrument because we're blowing through our nose, but you have to make yeah.
Yep. Show them what you're doing behind the whistle. Yeah, see.
do
Just pucker up and hope you don't have a runny nose. Yeah.
That actually was fun.
Well, you've been a major part of so many projects, and we can spend all night talking about it, but we're gonna try and see how much we can fit in. But talk a little bit first about ASA Festival, because that was amazing. I forgot if we did 4 or 5 of them, but at Kapilani Community College.
We did 4 ASA festivals at KCC, and we did 1 Drums of Hope at Okinawa Center. Actually, I was in Brazil for the centennial of their immigration to South America, and they had over 100 drummers drumming together, and literally the ground shook. And you just felt the beat coming straight at you. And so I wanted to bring that to Hawaii. And so KCC had a huge stage for graduation, 88 feet by 40 feet with a roof. And they gave it to me to do a free concert for the community. And so we got in all the ASA groups in Hawaii, and they drummed together. It was a celebration of drumming. And it was a lot of it was to explain the difference between Okinawan drumming, ASA, and Japanese drumming, taiko. To really establish to people that we have our own drumming, that we have traditional, we have contemporary, but it is not taiko. It is Okinawan drumming.
And you brought in some top groups from Okinawa for that festival.
Well, Daiichi Hirata came in the second festival and just really transformed it. So we were able to have Lekios and Kajimai, so the top 2 drumming contemporary ASA groups, come in and elevate the Hawaii ASA drum scene. It was exciting.
Yeah, it was super exciting. I kind of got a little karate part on the side, right? So we got to watch for the rest of it, and it was just like Shari said, the boom, right? It's that, and I missed seeing it, in live, right? It's not the same on video. Sorry, it's not, but it's just the boom that you feel inside here when the drums come out. Oh, I miss that so much, but we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, thank you so much. So that's just like one part of your involvement in our Hawaii Okinawa community. Tell us a little bit more about, some of the other, we're going to get into the whole restaurant project, which is a whole nother part of what a lot of stuff you do, but you've also done a lot of other work, right? With like the Nisei veterans during World War II and stories. I know stories are really important to you, so.
Yeah, so I'm a specialist in the story of Japanese Americans during World War II, and that includes the Battle of Okinawa. So specifically Takejiro Higa, Minoru Teruya stories. And every project I do revolves around storytelling, because I think stories inspire us. They just teach us where we came from and where we need to go in the future. And so I've done exhibits at Pearl Harbor. I've got to just do storytellings in all different forms. So, like with a professional storyteller or just art. It's just like a lot of it is just trying to find how many different ways we can tell stories. But it's our stories because we can't rely on people to tell our stories. We have to tell them, and we have to tell them right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's something that, and like recording it for future generations is something in various mediums, right? I think is really, really something neat. And you'll see that the stories that were kept from our previous generations are what we kind of hang on to now. And so it's really important that we do the same. So people from here, so many generations in front of us will also have the ability to kind of hang on to these stories. So super.
Well, I think for me, I didn't grow up in the Okinawan community. My club had disbanded, so we kind of just didn't join until Wahiwaku Kai when I was grown up. But I didn't understand why we were fighting over vegetables at summer picnic or why people were handing me toilet paper. Even at the Shininkais, you gather with these strangers that you only see twice a year. And you're just like, okay, why do I have 12 rolls of toilet paper and school supplies? And, I love fighting for vegetables, but I didn't know why we were doing it. I didn't know why we were gathering at Okinawan Festival. And it wasn't until you start learning the stories like Pigs from the Sea that you realize why we gather as a community and why the community is so important. And I think if we don't know these stories, we have a very shallow understanding of what it means to be Hawaii Okinawan and what our community means as a whole. Like, what is our legacy? And that's why I want to tell these stories.
Really good point.
Oral histories as well as storytelling is so important to perpetuating our culture and our heritage. So, we're lucky to have someone like you that has that passion.
Yeah, to record it, right, for future generations, because it's a lot of work. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I know we've talked a little bit about some other, exhibits that you've had and stuff. So let's get into something that's, I know, near and dear to your heart, the Hawaii Okinawa Restaurant Project. And this is going to tie into a very big, very exciting event that we have coming up next week that we'll tell all of you about. But tell us a little bit about the Hawaii Okinawa Restaurant Project and how it all got started.
So there was a guy who lived in Oroku, Okinawa named UShitakara. He left Okinawa, went to work on a plantation on one of the neighbor islands. And when he finished his contract, he came to Oahu. And, banks at that time wouldn't give loans to non-whites. And he really didn't have a means to advance or, to make it a success. So he started washing dishes and scrubbing potatoes at restaurants for no pay. He was given 2 meals, and he was supposed to watch and learn. He worked his way into paying positions, and when he felt he was ready, he set up a tanamoshi, which was a Japanese lending system, and he opened up Moris Cafe in 1923. And he consciously made the decision not to sell Japanese or Okinawan food. I think one of the reasons one of the restaurateurs said was because why would people pay and go out to eat food that they can cook at home? So he had American food. So you can see Aloha Grill's menu up from 1934, and you can see fruit cocktail. Some of them have like mock turtle soup, veal. But UShitakara offered the same opportunity to people from his village. Wash dishes, scrub potatoes, work your way up. And he did a tanamoshi and helped them open up their own restaurant. Not a franchise, own restaurant. And so because of UShitakara, Oroku Village, Oroku Azajin had 75 restaurants in mostly downtown Honolulu. I would say the 1930s to the 1960s. And none of them are open today because it was not something they wanted their kids to continue. It was a means for their children to go to college,
Right.
To become a success. Right. And I think, John, your family had a restaurant? Yeah.
Yep. In fact, what you're saying rings, true. My grandfather had Moris Cafe, and it may have even been taken over by an oroku after him, and I can't remember who had it before him. But what does resonate true is that he sold Hawaiian and American food because he was right on Hotel Street, and at the time, post-war or during the war, that's who was going to be the clientele. So again, you mentioned they knew how to reach out and fill the need.
Yeah, so on the screen you see a picture of Toshi, who was the owner of Columbia Inn, and he was a major character of the time. So that's Odd Job from was that James Bond? He was a villain, right? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So, Columbia Inn was one of the 75 Oroku Azajin. And, what's remarkable about this story is just the fact that we know about them. So Columbia Inn was the last of the Oroku restaurants to close down. And when they did, I think it was in 2000, Jean Kaneshiro was told by the executive director of the Japanese Cultural Center, you are such a major part of Hawaii's history that you have to document your history. And Jean told them, I'm part of a larger story. And so he decided that he wanted to document the Oroku restaurant story. And so he met up with Howard Takara, and Howard's daughter Holly was president of Oroku at the time. And here's what's remarkable. They did not use any excuses like, I'm not qualified or trained to do this. But more importantly, they didn't use the excuse, I'm too busy. They said, we've got work to do, let's do it. And so once a month, they would get together with Ethel Teruria from Times Grill.
Yep.
And they would sit down around a table and pull information out of people's heads to put into a spreadsheet so they could document the 75 Oroku restaurants. The name of it, the location, when it opened, when it closed, who owned it, what was their yago. And they did this for years. And then when that project was done, they said, you know what? We're getting so much information about the rest of the restaurants, let's keep going. So they documented over 350 Okinawan-owned restaurants in Hawaii. We do have some that are from the neighbor island, but it is a very Oahu-centered project. And what they did was community archivism, because if they had not taken the time to do what they did in documenting, you and I would be having a conversation today asking, hey, there was a lot of restaurants that were Okinawan-owned, right? How many do you think they are?
Yeah.
Right. And I was talking to a food editor, and she said, I would have guessed 30, but there was 350. And, Howard and Jean were given the title by the Hawaiian Historical Society as Kahu Ikena, caretakers of knowledge. And a lot of this, the reason I got involved is because of what they did. The fact that they did not use the excuse, I'm too busy, because arguably I could say, I'm really busy too. But I did not want their project to die or to not continue on. So I worked with them to take it to the next level using technology, using social media, and also adding in the next generation of restaurants, the currently open Okinawan-owned restaurants that are around. So that is the project in a nutshell, I think.
That was a great exhibit, because there were menus from those restaurants included in the exhibit, which is, just to look at these menus and go back in time, I thought that was so interesting. And there's a photo of Howard and Jean, and you had a very special part in helping them kind of integrate into other technologies to share this, correct?
Can I just say, I'm not going to reveal Howard's age, but Howard learned how to use Google Drive because I told him there's no way that we can have multiple copies of this spreadsheet, back and forth. So we got together and he learned how to use Drive, and he's been working at it, which is no excuse for anyone, right?
Yep. And this is before the pandemic, right? So this is
this was before the pandemic. But I do want to make a plug. no one has been collecting restaurant menus. So we do have a very robust collection for Columbia Inn and Flamingo. I only have one menu for Wisteria. And, we're in talks right now with this Hawaii State Archives. They're willing to start an archive of the restaurant menu, so it'll be protected, generations to come. So if people have menus around that they're willing to donate to the State Archive, I think that'll be wonderful for the future.
Yeah, even if they're not, and we're looking for menus. We're looking for pieces of nostalgia, even from restaurants, especially if they have closed. They don't have to be from 1923 per se, but if they're from 1990 even, and the restaurants have, look at some of these menus, that we've been able to secure. So thank you so much to people who have saved these. And for those of you, like you're saying, just a call out, if you have, or of somebody else who might have, and would like to donate those to the state archives, please, please, please don't throw them away. If your family is going through stuff, make sure that we're looking for restaurant memorabilia, menus in particular. And like John said, for those of you who've seen the exhibit, it really takes you back in time. To another era, right? When diners, restaurants, and like Shari said, it's a lot of American food. And the one that really caught me was like mock turtle soup. I was like, huh? But then there's other things like Green River, and I was like, oh my gosh, there are still places like Yuntaku where you can get Green River. But yeah, everything is this is a really important aspect, I think, of our Okinawan culture and our story here in Hawaii specifically.
Well, in 1934, hamburger steak, like a whole set meal, was 25 cents. I mean, granted, that was 1934, but...
Right. I mean, that's amazing.
And look at what we're showing on screen here. Apple pie, 5 cents.
Yeah, this is amazing. So yes, and
I was
like
cracking up because Times Grill had a salad, so like a wedge of lettuce with French fries, and I was like, so the fries were on the lettuce and the oil is the dressing.
I wish we had pictures of that. But another plug too, we are looking for more adding neighbor islands to this database of restaurants. So sorry if we do right now it's kind of Oahu centric, but we are looking to expand it because we know there have been a lot more restaurants and stuff on the neighbor island. So we are looking for like more Gene and Howards, people like that to really do what, and I like the wording that Shari used, community archivism. Take it upon, we need somebody on the ground there who can talk to people. And a lot of times it's taking the time to talk to people who remember, and like you said, grabbing these nuggets of information from a lot of people. And then it's golden when you can find somebody who actually has the menus or something that they kept, right, from these restaurants. So we are looking for things like that. And
the key to oral history is not missing the opportunity to get that information, while it's still around.
Yeah.
And it's not just taking in information, it's actually verifying, double checking, following up. So it is a bit of sleuthing as well.
I know you said that was kind of fun, right? When you're looking through, trying to verify a bunch of information.
Well, you hear way more than you want to hear. Oh no, they got divorced, so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, it's a lot of sifting through.
Yeah.
So it's important then, as we look back, that as we move forward, we should be keeping the same kind of records, which is, I believe, what you're doing, Shari, and doing a really good job, is that you're, by being engaged with the restaurants that are now being established or has been established currently, that's part of this whole process. And as we move forward, keeping all this information current. So what are some of the current restaurants and their stories?
So one of the questions that came up from the restaurant exhibit was, what are the currently open Okinawan-owned restaurants?
Right.
So I started compiling those. Remember I told you American Cafe did not have Okinawan or Japanese food? Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that time has kind of flipped, where today we go out to eat and buy home cooking, because I don't know how to make pig's feet soup. I'm not willing to make pig's feet soup at home. Maybe that's a better way to put it, yeah?
Yeah.
But, we have, I call them the big three, Hide-chan, Utage, and Sunrise. Mm-hmm. And they serve home-style Okinawan cooking. And so I kind of consider them in a special category because, like Hide-chan has 12 dishes, Okinawan dishes.
On the menu.
Utage has 11, so it's a significant amount on to have a regular menu. But when Hide-chan first opened, he had no Okinawan dishes, just Japanese, because he felt that no one would buy Okinawan food. He only added on those dishes when regulars kept bugging him. And the reality is if we don't buy these dishes at these restaurants, we're making a clear statement that it's not worth it to include it on the menu. And so that's kind of on us as a community. If we want to have these Okinawan dishes, we have to go eat it regularly, not just once a year. It has to be, do we really want these dishes available? Right. And, there's a special category of restaurants as well, like Highway Inn and Rainbow Drive-In, where it's multi-generational, where, I think third generation owners have continued to carry on the tradition. But there's so many restaurants that have popped up that have, I think they have ties. So remember I told you the 75 Oroku restaurants have all closed? We found there's a 76 restaurant that's open called Tatsuo's on Sand Island Access Road. And they're actually descended from one of the original Oroku restaurants. I can't remember what name, but, there's also ties where like Hank's Hot Dogs in Kakaako. Hank's parents ran a concession stand near the natatorium, and they would sell hundreds of hot dogs a day. So when he opened Hank's Hot Dogs, it was actually a tribute to his parents and their little concession stand they had at the beach. Of course, he elevated the hot dogs.
Right.
Yeah. Specialty hot dogs.
Hot dogs, yeah. But
Right. So what they're scrolling on is at hawaiiokinawans.com, and we do have a listing of all the Okinawan-owned restaurants. I do have a category of people who sell andagi regularly, people who are dessert. For some reason, 3 of the sherbet places are Okinawan-owned, Asato Family, Scoop Scoops, and Samurai Aiea. And, I also included Okinawan-owned food-related businesses. Because I didn't realize how much we have. Aloha Tofu, 50th State Poultry, Higa Meats, Hawaii Eggs, Sun Noodle, King's Hawaiian, just to name a few. And they're having a difficult time now too, because they would have orders from restaurants and hotels, large orders, regular orders that have all disappeared. And so they've pivoted as well. So Higa Meats has pivoted where you can buy smaller quantities of pork or beef so that home cooks can buy directly from their warehouse. I didn't even know that Hawaii State, 50th State Poultry, you can go to their factory, and Evan Uezu said you can buy everything but the head of the chicken.
I believe him, yeah.
Right. And Okuhara Kamaboko, I've been telling everyone because I love this deal. On Tuesdays, they fry up gobo tempura. So if you order on Monday, you can go pick up a 5-pound bag of gobo tempura for $21. Yeah, it's amazing. But even like Aloha Tofu sells direct from the factory. It's cheaper than what you'll find at the grocery stores and definitely fresher. So I decided to add them in the list because they need help as well.
Yeah, the food-related businesses, I think it's an extension of, back in the day, a lot of our Okinawan community, they started restaurants, and a lot of them also started the supporting food businesses, right? Well, like Aloha Tofu is one of the remaining tofu factories here, right? We used to have Kanai Tofu and, sorry, I'm blanking on the names of the other ones.
Ala, Higa Tofu.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you a story about Aloha Tofu. So Paul Uehara's grandfather started Aloha Tofu. He was a cook for Times Grill. And when Times Grill shut down to become Times Supermarket, he trained to be a butcher and went over to work for Times Supermarket as a butcher. And then he had a chance to buy a tofu factory. And so Times Supermarket was Aloha Tofu's first and most loyal customer. And Paul always says that as Times Supermarket grew, Aloha Tofu could grow with them. And there's another story that I thought was absolutely stunning, which was there was a fire that burned down Aloha Tofu factory. I think it was where on Ward they had the warehouse where Marukai was. That one completely burned down. And his grandfather was ready to quit, but he had equipment coming in from Japan. So he decided he'd give it another try. In the time it took for them to rebuild the factory, their competitor, Ala Tofu, let them use their equipment, during off hours to fill the orders that they had to, fulfill to their customers. Would that happen today? So a lot of these restaurant stories are all about the restaurants helping each other out. So Gene Kaneshiro would talk about if he ran out of beer on a Saturday night, he could just call Wisteria and ask, can I borrow 3 cases of Bud?
Wow.
And the answer wasn't just yes, it was, you like me bring them over? So these restaurants were like trading chef or cooks. They were helping each other out of problems. And one of my hopes with identifying this new generation of restaurants is to have them learn their history, the history of the Okinawan restaurants and how there was that kukua between them, and wondering, can that survive to this new generation of restaurants and food-related businesses?
I think
you talk about these.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, those stories are the perfect example of yuimaru, right? It's, some people think, they were competitors, so why would they help each other out? But of course they helped each other out. They actually depended on each other. And that is the perfect example, I think, of what the word yuimaru means. So.
And she mentioned tanemoshi, but I think they may have called it for the Okinawan group omiai. These restaurants we're familiar with, and a lot of people that haven't gone or they don't go very often, they're probably not familiar with the faces that are behind these restaurants. And I think we have some shots of the owners of these, our favorite establishments, and let's see if we can pull them up. So people, when you go there, make sure you tell them hi and that you're there to support them in these tough times.
So that's Hidemitsu, or Hide-chan, from Hide-chan Restaurant.
Yes.
And it's okay to call him Hide-chan, yeah? So he is the only one that makes miso rafute on the island. So you see that pictured. And it is literally melt in your mouth, porky goodness.
Oh, man.
So that's Chokatsu and Tomoko Tamayose. So he likes being called Katsu. And they're the only ones that makes Okinawan yakisoba. And you can't see it on the picture, but Chokatsu likes playing the sanshin. And when we go back to dine-in, you can actually see him playing with a white soup spoon as his pick.
This is bachi. He doesn't use a traditional bachi. He uses a Simon spoon.
He is such a character. Oh, man. And
so this is Jocelyn Kishimoto, and she is the owner of Utage Restaurant and Lounge. And she is the only one that offers nabera champuru. So it's like a squash champuru. And they actually have a huge menu. And it's, again, when we have dine-in, they can accommodate large parties. And like Lynn said, they still have Green River, yeah?
Yes. It's kind of one of those things that, it's a throwback, but has become new, popular again. And just going there, to get something like, sometimes I'm just craving Okinawa soba, right? And like to know that these places have it regularly on the menu is very comforting, I think. So.
You want to hear something cool about Utage? They have daily specials, but the specials don't have any rhythm or rhyme to them, or, like a time.
Right.
So if you go there and you love one of their specials, they will write your name and your phone number down in a composition book under the special, and they will call you on the phone to tell you, hey, this is specials coming up tomorrow. Do you want to order some? And I was like, wait, you email them? They're like, no, we call them on the phone.
Okay, but then they would be calling me every day because I like so many. Okay.
I always struggle when I go there about like, okay, so there's like you said, there's things on the menu that are very classically Okinawan, like this nabera, one of the only places where you can get it. But then I always like I want soba too, and then I want rafute, but then I also really want ahikatsu because I just love ahikatsu. So it's difficult, and then I end up just ordering more and taking home. But yeah, this is I think we are so lucky, to have these. We're probably showing this to people on the mainland who are like, oh man, you guys, like we're very lucky to have these here in Hawaii, that we have restaurants still that can serve homemade cooking. But like Shari said, if we don't go and support them, they're not going to be able to survive. And especially right now in the era of COVID, restaurants are having such a hard time, and they're taking the brunt. They're having to think quickly and buy new equipment, figure out the new rules, and then trying to like navigate this unprecedented year that we're having. And so really hats off to everybody in the restaurant and food industry. It's definitely been a tough year, and so we want to support them as much as we can. So we have an event coming up that is.
Wait, before we go there, I have a question for Shari. So I know it's hard because we're slowly getting back to bigger groups or being able to get together in bigger groups. But do any of these small mom and pop restaurants also provide catering services?
Yeah, actually, so Sunrise, I know, has been able to do large orders. Hide-chan and Utage, definitely. I say just call them because, right now, they're just making enough, I think, to pay the bills. So if you maybe have like a gathering or you're buying for your employees, why not? Just ask them if they can do it, but give them a lot of lead time.
Give them a heads up. Yeah.
Right. But, we've been talking about like the 3 Iges. So Ige's Halava, Ige's Aiea, Ige's Mapuna Puna at Masa's Cafeteria. They were set up to cater funerals and large events. They no longer have those. So they've pivoted to make takeout plate lunch and bentos, but it's not in the quantities they were doing before. So, I'm worried about those restaurants as well, because we need to get them to the point where they can do those large catering jobs again, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it'd be good for the small restaurants. I mean, if they still can't fill their restaurants and people can't go there in large groups, then maybe if we know that we can cater even from the someplace like Hide-chan, that'd be a good way to support too, because you can have a family of more than 5 because it's your family. So that's something I think everybody should keep in mind.
Right, and like Sunrise pivoted, so they actually started making bentos instead of just a la carte. So they have adapted. So definitely I would say call them to ask.
Yeah, and I think, like Shari said, a lot of these restaurants are just trying to figure out how to survive. And so I think they're trying to be creative as well. And so like the shift from, everyone orders from Ige's for your large funeral, right? But nobody's had a funeral since March, unfortunately. We've not been able to do things in our community like that. And so, like Shari says, we are really concerned about like, we want these things to be around once we are able to have, large family gatherings again and things like that. So,
we've lost some restaurants. I mean, what are some of the restaurants we lost recently, Shari? I know Liki Liki.
Yeah. I think Liki was the impetus for a lot of this, because in the article they said they changed to takeout, but it didn't go very well, which meant people weren't buying enough to support them to pay the bills. So it's a wake-up call for us, for the remaining restaurants. Then how can we support them regularly and steadily that they can make it past this pandemic and they don't become like Like. And we just outright lose all our treasures.
Yep. So that's what's at stake here. So, and we're not out of the woods by any means yet, right? I know we just kind of reopened for tourism, so we're gonna have to. Everyone, we got to keep our numbers low, but we also have to support our restaurants out there. So, in order to do that, Shari's kind of helped come up with this very creative way that we as a community, and not just our Okinawan community, we're asking the larger community to also, we invite our friends to join us, because all we have to do is go out and eat, and I'm really good at that. So tell us a little bit more about the Okinawan Festival, first annual Okinawan Festival.
So Festival, not to be confused with festival, this is an annual event that we want to start up. So for 1 week, we want to celebrate Okinawan food. We want to celebrate Okinawan-owned restaurants and food-related businesses. And so in the week, if you click on Okinawan dishes, so if you go to hawaiiokinawans.com, we've done a breakdown of who has Okinawan dishes on regular menus. So there is a breakdown of the big three, Hide-chan, Utage, and Sunrise. A surprising one is Izakaya Naru. It is not Okinawan-owned, but they have a lot of Okinawan dishes that, like, their Okinawan soba is made from scratch in a house. Everyone else uses sun noodles. And their taco rice is in a Korean stone pot or stone bowl. Bibimbap, yeah. And so, the lettuce and the egg and it's actually really good.
Yeah.
And they make jimami tofu in-house. And so you can buy jimami tofu, because the only other group that makes it is Aloha Tofu, and that's on special order. But Masa and Joyce out in Kaneohe has those 4 dishes.
Oh, they got good dishes.
And then, Ethel's Grill has that taco rice you see on the screen that kind of looks like a bat or something, yeah?
You have the two.
And Joy Cup Noodles Mean, they have a really nice taco rice too. So they have dine-in and takeout. And, we also have a lot of people that offer andagi regularly, like Aloha Andagi, the Andagi Guy, Teruya Andagi, the 3 Iges. I think Ala Hawaii, Teruya's Andagi, and actually Masa and Joyce, and Utage on Fridays. So if people have an andagi fix or need to fill their whatever, they can go to these 7 places.
Nice.
And, that goes back to that thing where people thought it wasn't worth it to have Okinawan dishes on the menu. We've broken down who has Okinawan dishes. There's no excuse for saying, oh, I don't know who has, I don't know what they have. Maybe later on we'll have explanations of what are the dishes for people who have no idea about Okinawan food. But the second fun part of Festival is that participating Okinawan-owned restaurants are like digging down into their roots to figure out fun specials they're going to offer for that week. So if you call up the festival site, Festival site, and you click on Festival Specials, Heiho House, this izakaya that opened last Friday in Kaimuki, has kokuto andagi ice cream that they're going to be serving. And I had it, and the andagi is still crispy. Ooh. That's some serious chef magic, right?
Well, for our newbies out there, why don't you explain what kokuto is?
So kokuto is Okinawan black sugar. It's considered some of the finest and purest sugar in the world. The chef instructors at KCC go crazy when I give them kokuto. And andagi is, of course, an Okinawan donut. And they've combined all these flavors into an ice cream. And like Hank's Hot Dogs is doing Hank's take on the underdog. So instead of a hot dog, he slices up Spam, dips it in andagi batter on a stick, and you dip it into a honey mustard sauce. That was actually really good. I liked it better than the Portuguese sausage. Yeah, there's Hank too. It is amazing.
Only
and,
in Hawaii.
Right? I thought he was going to carve the Spam to look like a hot dog, but I think his decision was better.
Yep, nope. Going straight Spam.
A Spam popsicle.
It's a Spam popsicle, deep fried.
So again,
and Pagoda Restaurant is teaming up with Aloha Andagi, Casey Waffle Dog, and Aloha Aomori. And so they're actually going to make a waffle dog with rafte instead of the dog. So what did that be? Casey Waffle Pig?
And we want to thank all the people that supported their food drive and drive-through, they sold out, and I think if we didn't tell everyone already, I thank you for supporting them.
Well, and they donated 10% of their sales, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Aloha Andagi is going to be selling regular andagi and pumpkin spice andagi.
Oh, getting on the pumpkin spice.
Yeah,
Here we go.
absolutely.
Oh,
And I gotta mention Ige's Halava. I don't have the photo yet. It just got sent to me earlier today, but they are busting out a secret family recipe. So the family has a sweet and sour pig feet recipe that they only make for their family parties. Wow. So they're gonna make a feastable plate with the sweet and sour pig feet, shoyu pork, chicken champuru, and andagi, and sweet potato manju. And they're selling 12 andagi for $5.
Ooh.
So they're going to town. Next to them is quinoa chop suey. I get questioned about this one a lot because it's an obviously Chinese restaurant.
Kanyohi.
Yeah. So one of the owners is Okinawan, and she's my cousin, which is the only reason I know that that it is Okinawan owned. But they're offering a special where if you spend $50 or more, they will throw in an extra dish, a pork and bitter melon dish, part of Festival Week. Nice. Yeah, and Hibachi Honolulu is interesting because they didn't know they were Okinawan. I'm friends with one of the owners, and I'm like, your last name is Miyashiro. You have to be Okinawan. And so they're one of the restaurants I think is fascinating because they're discovering their roots, and they're getting really excited. So they're going to have Orion beer on tap. So you can bring a growler and take out the Orion beer. Actually, Heiho House has Orion beer on tap as well. And I just got to point at Scoop Scoops because they're offering a free bag of these cute character stickers as a gift if you order their zenzai with a kokuto swirl on top of it. And I think they're really, really cute. So if you scroll through, we have, like Tatsuo's, as I mentioned, is having spare rib soup, shoyu pork, and they make all different kinds of pickled vegetables that they sell. And Utage is going to make kandaba jushi. That's like a rice porridge with Okinawan sweet potato leaves. They're going to have it on special Tuesday and Friday. And actually, Sunrise is offering specials of their... I can't remember off the top of my head, and I can't read that text. But
orders of pig's feet soup, Okinawa soba, spare ribs soup, and nakami jiru. Yeah. Sorry, getting real close to the camera.
Thank you.
My stomach is growling already.
I know.
But there's a third tab on this page, which is Okinawan-owned restaurants, and this has the complete listing of them. So Festival Week is about learning which restaurants are Okinawan owned. And 1 week out of a year doesn't necessarily help that much. So we would like to continue it with Okinawan Tuesdays. Monday and Tuesday are typically the slowest days of the week. So on Tuesdays, could you consider buying from one of the food places, consider doing takeout from Rainbow Drive-In, or just any of the restaurants listed on this page, because there's a lot. Yeah. And you don't have to buy Okinawan food, just whatever their specialty is. So I just found out that Karai Crab is Okinawan owned. 2 of the owners are Okinawan.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, what a huge resource for our community. I know people have wanted to always asking us for this list, or people somebody mentioned it earlier, but did you know Popeyes? The Popeyes Hawaii franchise is actually owned by
Uezu.
The Uezu family, the chicken family. So, and
Two Lady Farmers is one of them is Okinawan, and the cool connection is Shinsato Farms, the original branded pig farm. They actually are the mentors of Two Lady Farmers. So when they shut down their farm, they set themselves up to help Two Ladies succeed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these ties within the community.
So there's Festival, but they're going to continue a lot of specials throughout the year, correct?
I hope so. But, it comes down to we just have to support their regular dishes. We were just talking about how there's some people who are expecting deals or discounts. But the thing is that we just have to help, not ask them to jump through hoops, which is why Festival was 1 week. And if Hank's underdog is a super success, then maybe he can bring it back.
Right.
If that rough day waffle pig turns out extremely well, then maybe it can show up, multiple times.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was wondering. Is some of these menu items that appear during festivals, like wow, do we have
But
to
it's
wait?
the same thing with Hide-chan,
Yeah.
is that we have to go there and eat it and keep bugging them and saying, "Ooh, are you bringing it back? I really, really want to have it again," so that it's worth their while to do it.
Yep.
So is this website, that you're developing, will it be interactive? So maybe if I missed a special at Hide-chan, I don't know that it even exists, right? So if I look at the site and I'm like, oh, that looked really, really tasty. I didn't get to ever taste that. Then I'm going to go bother him and go, hey, Hide-chan, when are you going to do that again? Because I didn't get to try it.
And the more people that will go out and support like that, I think it makes it, like Shara said, worth their time. And so that's why it's so important for all of us watching today. We all have to go order these dishes and make sure that we tell them how much which ones we like the most, and that's how they're going to judge what they can keep on the menu, right? So
And for John, when you go to Hide-chan with your request, I do suggest bringing offerings. Like I bring him kombu, or he likes awamori, so I'll give him some sake or awamori. So
okay.
you
Good-
need
good
to
to
come
know.
with offerings.
that's
And talking about all the festival food that we've missed, so Hank has his take on Underdog. Gochi Grill is actually doing his take on the Oki Dog. So if you missed it at the festival, so those of you who don't know the Oki Dog, it's a tortilla with chili, a hot dog, shoyu pork, and lettuce. And he's going to be making that special for Festival.
oh,
That's a plate lunch rolled out.
in a
That thing is filling. Yeah.
Well, he throws fries in with his, so.
Oh wow. Even better. Oh man. So I'm getting hungry. So I think some people are asking. So again, it's hawaiiokinawans.com. We're gonna be like Shari said, this is kind of where we're gonna be able to keep and update a lot of different Okinawan-owned restaurants, and we are looking to kind of keep that list going throughout the year. Like Shari said, maybe Okinawan Tuesdays we're gonna make a thing. You'll get your takeout, and then you can watch Yuntaku live. Make it your Okinawa Tuesdays thing. And I really, really important that our community supports our restaurants in this time of need, because COVID-19 has just taken a beating on a lot of different, businesses. And so what can you do to support? You can go out and eat and make sure that we're consistently, I think is what we're looking for. Is, of course we do Festival to kind of highlight things for a week, and because it's fun, and it's kind of a thing that we can do. But we are really hoping that this continues throughout the year, and that we are able to always go back and reference this. When you're having a party or something later on, when we are allowed to have parties, that you go back and we support our restaurants. So you can buy gift certificates from them. You choose them for your events and parties like that. So,
so there's things people can do. Shinka has been helping out restaurants with how to optimize on Google and how to claim the business on Yelp. That's something that
Super
they can
important.
step in and help out because they have that knowledge. Reid Shimabukuro, who is a professional photographer, has been volunteering his time to go to local businesses and take photos at no charge.
Wow.
Because he wants to help them. So, obviously he charges if they can afford it, but if they cannot afford it, he took pictures of Kei's Bento out in Waipahu because they said they were in trouble. And so he took professional photos for them.
makes a
Wahiwa
huge
Kyo
difference,
Yukai
right? Yeah.
is supporting the two places in Wahiwa. Shige Saimin and the Kilani Bakery. And so they're using their club funds to buy food for all the kupuna, 70 years and older, in their club. And they're going to deliver food to them. And so, like Karen Kupahori, she's got a standing order every Friday for sushi from Sunrise. There's things that all of us individually can do. So on Sundays, I'll make a run to Aloha Tofu, and I'll make a run to another restaurant and bring it to all my family and friends in Mililani, because Mililani people don't drive to town.
Yes.
Apparently. But I'm going there already, so I can just take their orders. It's just me delivering maybe to 4 different places. I'm able to expand how much I can support. It's not just me buying one item.
Yeah.
I'm buying like 10 items because people are putting in orders, and I'm just dropping it off to them. Young Okinawans of Hawaii is looking at maybe trying to support the kupuna at Lanakila and Chosa and Jiku and Honganji. So going to maybe one of these Okinawan-owned businesses and buying a whole bunch of bento. We can go to Aloha Tofu, and he can, sell us blocks of tofu. We can bag up the okuhara kamaboko. There's a lot of things we can do. It's just within our own spheres, sit and think, what is my talent that I can bring to it? I was super worried about Sunrise and Hide-chan because they're over 60. And there's no way they were going to all on their own learn how to do social media. So they had no way to communicate with people during the pandemic. And, Chokatsu said first day that he did takeout, 6 hours, he only had one takeout order, and he was so worried. How am I going to survive? And so I have the skills to help teach them and set up the page and monitor it for them. And it doesn't take a lot of time, but it could be the means for them to survive. So that's one of the questions within each of us is like, what skills can we bring to help them out? If that's not the case, then how can we leverage our networks? Like feeding our families, dropping off to neighbors. One of the Waiwakyu Yukai members, when I told her Ige's Halava mentioned they're really worried about having to close, she called all the people who own businesses and ordered them to order employee lunches from Ige's Halava. And, there's things that we can do. It's just a matter of thinking of what we can do, right?
Yeah, we got to get
I love these comments. The Cheryl Nakamoto wrote that the Oki dog with fries jumped out at her.
I got to taste it yesterday. It's really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're like your own Uber Eats. You
Yeah,
deliver to your family
right.
member. Wow. You forgot that we're actually 5th cousins on your mother's cousin side.
Yeah,
So I got to drive out to Kaneohe.
But yeah, like if we have more people who are like they're mini, like, you're like a mini hub, right? And so you have like the 5 or 6 places that you're helping drop off stuff. So if we have more people like that, right, we could start making, if you want to start your own little mini hub and you go to, Aloha Tofu and, Higa Meats or something, or you're picking up food from where all these other restaurants and you share it with everyone, we could really do our part, and every order matters. So I think
And I think that I see another great comment. Jason Racunio saying that he's willing to help from the mainland by purchasing merchandise. So, mahalo and ipenihe ebiru,
Yeah.
Jason.
this is,
Actually, there's a company. If you go to Sunrise Restaurants Facebook and Instagram, there's a company that's helping them create merchandise. So I know that this Japanese company is helping the restaurants kind of create logos and sell T-shirts and other things. But, one of my friends in California, Debbie, messaged me, and she's planning to come to Hawaii at some point when, the ban is lifted. And she asked me to buy a $50 gift certificate for her from Hide-chan so she can use it when she comes to Hawaii.
Oh.
So, I thought that was super cute, yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways. I think that those of us, we just got to get creative and start thinking of different ways to help these businesses, because they're being forced to be creative too. So this is just I'm super.
But I do think that the bigger places like Highway Inn and Rainbow Drive-In probably have merchandise they're selling, right?
Yep. Yep.
I think Rainbow Drive-In has like a Guretama t-shirt.
Oh yes, I need to get one of those with the egg. So like the classic local moco, right? So you have.
I saw that.
That's super cute.
That's really good.
Oh, that's such a great idea. Such a great idea. But yeah, like people are saying, like people who are like hustlers in their community, like Adana, right? Kakazu, she's hustling out of Wahiwa Kyo Yukai people and trying to help out the Wahiwa businesses, and that's really what makes our community so special, and that people want to be a part of this. And I think, like Shari said, there's some restaurants that are discovering their Okinawan roots. Oh yeah, here we go. I want a tank top.
Oh, Kirsty.
That is so cute.
Oh, yeah. There's a shirt.
So merchandise is great. And so we are doing this on social media. We want people to, post their food, show where they're eating from, and use the hashtag Oki Eats or Okinawan Eats. So we can gather a lot
that
of
actually helps a lot because
Mm-hmm.
it reminds people, hey, this person has this dish, or it makes you hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I like being nosy and seeing what people are eating
Yeah, I
too.
know,
Yeah?
and I want to see actually what everyone's. So what I'm gonna do is that I noticed a lot of the places on the Feastable special page, some of them are like only certain days, right? Or you got to pre-order. So I'm gonna make my Feastable schedule basically from Monday,
Whoa.
Tuesday. I'm gonna go to Utagi, I think, because they have one of those specials, and then make
So-
sure that weekend there's a lot of stuff going on the Sunday or the Saturday, Sunday. So I've got to make sure to pre-order. So everyone should check out the website early because there's some
Actually, I do recommend you pre-order early.
Yes.
Because they're going to cut it off at a certain point.
And
Right.
during the virtual Okinawa Festival, people tried to get in or
Zippies.
order, and it was sold out, or they're so overwhelmed.
Yeah. So
Well, we have a lot more restaurants this go around, so hopefully
Yeah.
it'll spread out a little better.
and that's kind of I think, like you said, we had this idea to just we couldn't serve food this year for virtual Okinawan Festival, so how can we help our struggling businesses? And that Eat page turned into something that I think we looked at the power of our community to support others in the community. And now Shari has all this wonderful data, and we've taken it to the next level. So Okinawan Festival coming up November 2nd through the 8th. Lots of information on hawaiiokinawans.com. And also wanted to mention that the Hawaii restaurant card came out, right? And so for those of you who have a Hawaii restaurant card, now is a great time to use it at your Okinawan owned restaurants. So that's another great thing.
Actually,
Again-
Sunrise is offering $35 for their sushi platter for people with the restaurant card.
Nice.
That's a great
Nice.
deal.
Normally priced at $50, so
Yeah.
that's actually a big discount.
That's a great platter. I love that sushi platter. But again, like we mentioned in the beginning, that's all of us doing Yuimaru or our own omiai by supporting all these restaurants and going to order, takeout. Especially, it's pandemic is such a.
I think it's moai, isn't it? Moai. Omiai is in.
What did I say?
Omiai is.
Oh yeah,
nice.
moai.
Your
Omiya
connection.
is like the marriage partner,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
I was wondering, is that right?
Must have been the Japanese drama I was watching. Yes, not omiai. It is moai. Oh my gosh.
You're completely changing Feastival to like
I
a
know.
reality
So you-
TV show.
So when you go and order and you meet someone new,
You can thank John for that.
You
You can thank John. But yeah, a lot of this is something we're definitely hoping to build on. This is another way that we're going to keep this information and share it with others, and it'll be a living document, right, Shari? I think it'll be a living
Yeah.
site where we'll keep adding things.
I will maintain it and keep building on it. So, so I want to be putting in practical information about specials or what they're known for. But I would like it if people go on their slow days.
Yes.
Weekends is easy, but Monday, Tuesday is really when they need the help.
Yep.
And I would like to also issue a challenge to you two, especially, but everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the end of the year, can you say you have eaten at all of the Okinawan-owned restaurants on Oahu?
We need the punch card.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people, and this is why we need the neighbor islands. We need your help. We do need to get more information and document, and like Shari says, help us get fill in all the columns basically on the spreadsheet that's on the list, and so we can have a nice comprehensive list, and then we can take this and for future generations, it'll be there for forever. So I'm
Well, we'd have to also challenge ourselves to eat at all of the restaurants in the state of Hawaii and go to all the neighbor islands just to eat at those restaurants, right?
yeah.
We're gonna have our own food tour soon.
Yeah. So, and real quick, like Shari said, she thank you again for all this information that's up there. It's such a treasure, and I really want a quick shout out to Jennifer Kumura. Thank you so much for helping us get this up.
Absolutely.
She
Jennifer
got it together. She's got the skills, and like you said, like some.
So
we all have
literally, Jennifer and I put the page up in 3 days, which is it was brutal, but we had to get it in by the timeline. And yeah, so she is absolutely amazing.
She's a volunteer web designer, and she's got a lot of the digital skills. She helped us started helping us back in 2018 with the Okinawa Festival site, and her auntie is Donna with the Okinawan Genealogical Society of Hawaii. So just a lot of people using their skills in different ways, and all trying to help our community, and that's, I think, another beauty of this. So thank you.
But I think if anyone takes anything from this, it's the lesson from Jean and Howard from the Restaurant Project, which is that don't use the excuse "I'm too busy" to do what needs to be done. There's so many different projects, stories, things that we can do to enhance the community. And I think we all stop ourselves with the refrain, "I'm too busy. I'll do it later. Someone else can do it." Their lesson is so important because it's a guide, really. And like I said, if they didn't do the project, we wouldn't have this list. We wouldn't know our history, the remarkable history of the Okinawan-owned restaurants. And I asked Gene earlier today, how long have you guys been working on this, all told? And he thinks 14 years.
Wow.
And I think that with this project, I'm really proud that I'm able to step in and tell them I will continue it no matter what, because they put 14 years into it. And that's a lot of heart, Yeah.
Well, I'm never too busy to eat, so
Even in a pandemic, you still gotta eat, right, Shari?
Well, obviously, John is never too busy to eat and matchmake.
Yeah, oh, that too. So, send in your names and your information.
Oh my goodness.
But thanks so much, Shari. It's always whenever I talk to you, you got information just flowing out of you in all different areas, whether it's cultural.
That sounds horrible.
You're just a smorgasbord of information, whether it's ASA or now, I know you've always been a foodie. You can talk about restaurants for days on end, and I'm just amazed.
I got to give a shout out to my mom, because best baker ever.
Oh, I know.
And your dad, George Tamashiro, who was our 2003 HUOA president and also responsible for initiating the project across the street, the Hawaii Okinawa Plaza. And so, his initiative and his proactive getting involved, I think
that's another person who dedicated 14 years for a project to make HUOA financially secure for the future generation. So, I've got guides like my dad and Howard and Jean, and they do it because they love the community. And I love that.
It's a real inspiration, and I hope for all of the younger generation, the younger folks that are watching this, that you kind of find your thing that you can put 14 years into, and
what you're passionate about.
Excuse me. Yeah, find your passion, and there's so many different ways that you can support our community. And I think it's all of us seeing others that are so passionate that inspires the rest of us, right, to keep going and keep working at this. Everyone could say, "Oh, it's not my job," right? Everyone
Yeah.
could say that, but that's the power of our community, is that we come together, even though most are all volunteers, really, and to keep this going for future generations.
So I don't know if we have time for this, but I wanted to ask the people watching, do you guys know the story of how Hawaii sent over pigs to Okinawa post World War II?
We've
We should-
covered it in some of the other Yuntakus, but why don't you give them a summary? It never hurts.
So Okinawans love pig. We eat every part of the pig practically. And after World War II, the Battle of Okinawa, the pig population in Okinawa was decimated. And Hawaii Okinawans who were in the military intelligence service were writing letters home that was being published in the newspaper about how bad the situation was in Okinawa, because Okinawans were completely reliant on the U.S. military to survive. So the Hawaii Okinawan community went into full gear. They went into a frenzy to send over money, clothing, school supplies, medicine. But actually a relative of mine, Kamisuke Kakazu, wanted to send over pigs and rebuild the pig population so they could stand on their own. So in 1949, Hawaii Okinawans raised almost $50,000, which today would be like $500,000. And they did a thing where they said $50 would get one pig. So families scrimped and saved and sacrificed to raise $50 so they could say, we covered the cost of one pig. So this veterinarian gets sent over to Omaha, Nebraska, and he hand selects 550 pigs of a breed called Chester White. So it's a large-skinned, high body fat, actually white-skinned pig.
Very
And
hard.
these pigs, yeah, they researched, like, would it work in the Okinawan climate? Would it work with the diet? And these pigs were put on a train to Oregon, and it was going to be sent over on a military U.S. transport ship, the USS Owen. 7 men from Hawaii went on that ship as the pig brigade to keep the pigs alive. One of them was Yasu Uezu, who is the founder of 50 Estate Poultry, and whose son now has Popeyes. And 2 days in, there's a huge storm, and the sheds are wiped out. Pigs are running amok at night. Some go overboard. And the men are just heartsick because they know how much sacrifice went into each pig. The next day, they go back to Oregon. The U.S. Signal Corps, Army of Engineers, builds new sheds. Halfway through the voyage, they encounter mines in the water. By day, you can avoid the mines, but by night, you can only pray. And 1 month later, they steam into White Beach. And there's a story where Agu, the Okinawan pig, was small black skin variety. So the Okinawans are seeing these huge white skinned pigs come down the ramp, and they're asking themselves, is everything from America big and white? And so the pigs are distributed by lottery to farms around the country. And, there was a saying that the Hawaii Okinawans had a request. When these pigs have babies, pass on a pair. Within 4 years, they're back to the pre-war numbers. So Okinawans today still talk about this life-saving gift of aloha, these pigs that came from across the sea. And that story exemplifies yuimaru, communities supporting one another. But the importance of the story is that the U.S. military was in charge of Okinawa at the time. And Hawaii was, John, do you know how many member clubs existed in Hawaii in the 1940s, 1950s? So what happened is Okinawans emigrated over to Hawaii, and they created clubs based on the village or town that you came from. So Itoman, Naha, and it was a support system. Right now we have 50 clubs, but I don't know how much they had at that time.
They had more at the time, actually, but they never had come together as one group.
Right. They were trying to unite, but for whatever reason, they could never set aside their differences to come together. Because the military only wanted to deal with one entity, all of these groups set aside their differences and created the Hawaii United Okinawa Relief Association. And this was the group that was communicating directly with the military. And they're sending literally tons of clothing and school supplies and food to Okinawa. They're doing extraordinary things like sending over pigs and goats. There's also a group that fought to have a university built in Okinawa because they said education is power. The military wanted to only build like community college or trade school, but it was the Hawaii Okinawans who said, no, we want a university. So they spearheaded a worldwide fundraiser to make it happen. The point of this story is that this is the origin of the Hawaii United Okinawa Association.
Yep.
This is our origin story, which does set us, it sets us aside from, I think, other Kenjinkais around the world.
Yeah.
Because we have this extraordinary example of how the community came together when there was so much need in Okinawa. And I think that that's something, it's one of my favorite stories because it truly explains what it means to be a Hawaii Okinawan. It truly explains the role that HUOA plays in the community. And to me, it's a North Star. It's a guide to how we need to move forward, how we need to support to exemplify the value of Yuimaru. And to me, that's why stories are important. Because if we don't know the origin of HUOA, we don't know the origin of the festival, we don't know why we gather with our clans, I think that we have a very shallow connection to our roots. And we move farther and farther away from it each generation. And so my hope is that everyone knows the pig story, you know, the pigs from the sea story, because it's our origin story.
It truly is.
It's what we have left to us by that generation. And actually, your grandfather was one of the pig brigade, yeah, John?
Yep, he's one of the 7 with Yasuo Ezu.
Yeah.
Shinye Shimobukuro.
What an
That's a
amazing
wonderful legacy to have.
legacy. Yes, it's such a, and like Shari said, it's our origin story, and it's something to be incredibly proud of, right? That we are kind of the keepers of this legacy, and that we have a duty to kind of uphold that legacy to make sure that, you know, what are we doing to help others as well, and to make sure that, like you said, all of our future generations know this story. I think that's so
It's kind
wonderful.
of a badass story. I just like,
It is-
wow, I
it is
feel
a
really proud to
superhero
be
level.
Okinawan.
Yeah, and it should hit you right here to be very proud, right? To be a proud part of this community. And I think you're right. It is a North Star for a lot of things, you know, especially when I start to get stressed out about why things are the way they are. And it's a step back and remember why, right? Why are we doing all this? Why are we helping each other out? Why are we, why do we have such a big, strong organization? A lot of people ask us that a lot of times. And I think the more people that, you know, can remain connected to those stories, to that story, especially our Pigs from the Sea story, and the Okinawa relief effort, that is the origin story of the Hawaii United Okinawa Center, Hawaii United Okinawa Association, it is key to that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to make sure this is documented on YouTube for worldwide audiences to see.
See, but who needs Google? You just call up Shari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And call up John when you need a matchmaking session.
So because of your passion, I am so hungry now.
Yes.
And I need to go find some good Okinawan food. And, you know, I'll leave everyone with a couple words. I know there's a lot of ways to say it, but if you go to these Okinawan restaurants or anywhere you are, and you want to say, you know, itadakimasu in Okinawan, you say gwachi sabira. And when you're done, it's actually easy. It's almost the same. It's gwachi sabitan. So,
And John, how do you say delicious? Like, oh no.
Ma-san.
what was that?
Ma-san.
Yeah.
Ma-san.
Ma-san.
Yeah.
And then
And hungry
kari.
was kamehameha.
Eat. All right, hey.
Eat.
Lynn said the most important one when you're drinking kari.
Kari. So yeah.
Thank you, Shari, so much. I think you know, you educated a lot of people tonight, and they're going to be looking for this information online. And I hope that I know Feasible will be a huge success, and it's really the start of something wonderful.
I think it's asking the community's help. And if the community steps forward, then it will be a success. Because it all hinges on the power of the community responding. And so
Yep.
I'm hoping that the community comes out in force as they usually do.
Yes. So mark your calendars. Starting next week. It's almost November already. So next week is November 2nd to the 8th.
Wow.
Again, HawaiiOkinawans.com. And you can link to it from our HUOA.org website as well. But thank you again, and we hope everybody, we're going to send out reminders on Facebook. So Shari also helps curate all the information on our Okinawan Festival Facebook page too. So Facebook and Instagram, we'll be sharing a lot of information there too. So we'll see you. Everyone, go eat. Kame.
Okay, let's sign off with another hi sai Uji-san. You got your
I did
got the
not
buta
sign up
ready?
for this part.
All right, here we go.
Hey, ready?
Ready, Shari?
I'm trying.
Hey.